Following the Vikings 5-0 start, I was very bullish on my stance that the Vikings are a Super Bowl contending team and they're the best team in all of football. Since that time, we have received new information. And when that new information contradicts your original hypothesis, you have to adjust accordingly. 5-0, number one in the NFC North. They are now 5-2 and third in the division. And maybe they can build themselves back up into that contender status, but right now they're not there. That said, as much as the emotional fan in me wants to scream out loud, this is the beginning of the end. Taking my emotions out of it, objectively speaking, the Vikings are still in a good spot. They're 5-2. They're one of the best teams in the NFC still, even with their problems. The sky isn't falling just quite yet. That said, if you find a way to lose to the Indianapolis Colts, all right, man, pack it up. This thing is over. A lot of work has to be done for them to get close to where they were during that 5-0 start. It starts with the defense. The first 5 games, the defense allowed an average of 15 points. The last 2 games, averaging 30 points allowed. The lack of quality and coming into this season, this was a concern mentioned time and time again on this channel: interior defensive line and the corners. But through the first 5 games, it didn't matter. Brian Flores was able to out scheme the personnel that he had in those positions. But now the lack of quality interior defensive line and corners have caught up to this Vikings defense. The interior defensive line, in particular, against the run, Jameer Gibbs and Kyron Williams, Lions, Rams, respectively. You can still, I guess, entertain the idea of trading for a D tackle, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, but then you have to revisit that conversation of, okay, because to me, if you're going to go all in, because if you are going to make a trade for a player like that, that means you're going all in. You don't have a first round pick next year, likely don't have a first round pick in 2026 as well. If you're going to do something like that, you have to be contenders, and the Vikings aren't there yet. That said, you could remedy that solution at interior defensive line via trade. At corner, I think this is something that has to be that can only be addressed next year and beyond, because you need to, starting in 2025. Right now what you have is what you get. Sure, you can trade for a JC Horn, but if you don't have a pass rush to get to the quarterback, JC Horn is going to be running around doing cardio for no reason. You're not going to get the best of a cornerback right now with the lack of pass rush. But these cornerbacks right now, you just got to ride the wave the rest of 2024. You need versatile corners moving forward that can play man and zone. Right now, the corners that you have in Byron, Shaq, and Gilly at this stage in their careers, they're zone corners. They can't keep up playing man to man coverage. And I think Brian Flores knows that. That said, if you are going to improve upon your defense based off of what we've seen the last 2 games, Brian Flores is going to have to just cram his brain like crazy, adjusting opponent to opponent. Just do the best you can. The offensive line, Christian Darrisaw, is out for the year. What is the starting unit combination moving forward for the rest of 2024? And to me, it comes down to 2 players specifically to play left tackle for the injured Christian Darrisaw. David Kessenberry is not part of this equation at all. To me, it's either Blake Brandel, moving him from left guard to left tackle, or playing the rookie Walter Rouse, tackle from Oklahoma. Blake Brandel, he has experience playing tackle in college at Oregon State. If it were my decision, I just feel like you have such a good thing with Blake Brandel playing at left guard that I think this is potentially your left guard of the future. And I just want him to develop as much as he can at that position so he can get better and better. To move him from left guard to left tackle, maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't, but it's going to be temporary. And then 2025, he's going to have to get mentally used to playing inside again versus the last, goodness, 10 games of the regular season moving to the athletic side of the offensive line. I'd leave well enough alone there. And in fact, if you were to do that, Brandel at left tackle, that means that presumably Dalton Reisner would be left guard and the rest of the offensive line would stay the same. But you put Walter Rouse at left tackle, then it's okay, Rook, let's see what you've got going without interrupting the development of Blake Brandel. And then I would still consider replacing Ed Ingram at right guard with Dalton Reisner. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments section below. For me, Walter Rouse, left tackle, let's go. I have no doubt that the coaching staff, KOC and company, they're going to make the best decision moving forward for the rest of 2024 in regards to the offensive line. But getting to the offense, the undisciplined nature of this team, and really you can consider the entirety of this team, not just the offense, but the Minnesota Vikings as a team, they are top 10 in penalties. In regards to the offense, the amount of pre-snap penalties, whether it's delay of games or just barely not getting a delay of game penalty called because you were able to go ahead and spend a timeout in the process, or false starts. Just being undisciplined. That's a coaching issue. Clearly, your players aren't locked in enough, not focused enough to be in this game. And that's something that you can figure out in real time as the head coach. Eliminate those penalties, minimize those penalties so that way you minimize shooting yourselves in the foot. But penalties aside, this offense is going to have to step up now more than ever, especially now that the Vikings defense has been figured out. KOC, this is your offense. I mean, this whole team, you're the head coach. This is your entire responsibility. But on the offense, I mean, you're supposed to be the genius student learning from the grand master that is Sean McVay. And after the scripted plays, and with the scripted plays, KOC is the best in the league. I would argue, not just arguably, but statistically, with the Minnesota Vikings being number one in first quarter scoring. But once the scripted plays are done, I got this stat here from Paul Charchian that he pulled via True Media. And True Media defines the scripted plays as the first 15 plays of the offense. 16 and beyond, that's situational play calling. Plays 1 through 15, according to True Media. Vikings, yards per play, first. Points scored, first. Passing yards, first. Rushing yards, eighth. First downs, second. League wide. After the scripted plays, so situational play calling, plays 16 on out. Yards per play, Vikings 23rd. Points scored, 21st. Passing yards, 26th. Rushing yards, 27th. First downs, 29th. After the scripted plays, statistically, this is a bottom 10 offense, which essentially you're exploding onto the scene to start the game only to weather the storm the rest of the way to end the game. And this is nothing new here. We've been covering this very topic on this channel as it pertains to KOC situational play calling. We've been covering this topic ever since KOC's arrival in 2022. 2.5 years we've been talking about this, only to still talk about it right now at this very moment. And if you haven't figured out how to get better at it in 2.5 years, why am I to believe, or why is there any reason for anyone to believe that you're suddenly going to get better later down the road? And we can sit here and deflect all we want to. Well, it's Sam Darnold's fault. Look who he's been his entire career. And sure, no doubt he deserves some blame, but it goes both ways. Those scripted plays, those scripted drives, when the offense is kicking all sorts of ass, who's been the quarterback there? Sam Darnold. So are we going to take away the praise that he rightfully deserves? and just give it all to KOC. And then when it falls apart, KOC takes no blame and all that blame goes to Sam Darnold. What are we doing here? That's not how that works. Statistically speaking, KOC is one of the worst situational play callers in the league. And that's not to say that he's a bad head coach. It's just this aspect he can't figure out that he should delegate. The scripted plays, stay right on top of it. The pre-game planning of those scripted drives, you're the best in the league at doing it. Don't change a thing. With that said, once the scripted drives are over, KOC should have the wherewithal. You're a head coach. You're the head coach of this team. Part of the responsibilities of being a head coach is to pinpoint the problems and identify solutions. Well, KOC, your situational play calling is a problem. Just trying to stick with the same thing and expecting different results, that's not going to solve anything. And going back to Sam Darnold, it's not just Sam Darnold that if you're going to blame a quarterback, it's all his fault. Again, this has been covered for 2.5 years. This has been a problem with KOC for 4 different quarterbacks. You're the head coach. That what you're doing right now, this one little thing that you're doing right now is a massive problem for this team's success. If you don't have the wherewithal to say, clearly what I'm doing is not working, let me give this responsibility to someone else, a new set of fresh eyes that can see things that maybe I couldn't see. If you continue to do nothing about this, this is a nonstop hamster wheel that's going to get us nowhere. Make the call. I know you know it, KOC. I know you see it. Just swallow your pride. It's okay. No one's saying that you should be fired. Just delegate this responsibility to somebody else.